Meets and greets to all y'all YouTube button hailers. It's that dude from that place again, and I'm bored and I'm doing another DS game review. This time for one called Bleach, the Blade of Fate, which is actually a really solid fighting game compared to the fact that a lot of anime-based fighters tend to be mediocre at best. Oh, that, and also, that little credit there made me smile the first time I saw it. But, anywho, on with the review. I'm gonna turn this light off, though. As you can tell, it plays the opening thingy. I'm gonna skip that, though. First off, we're gonna get into the gameplay factor. I'm going to go into the basic training mode.
Here's training mode.
Yes, Renji, we know. As you can tell, we've got a wide plethora of characters to choose from, which includes that of the likes of Ichigo, Byakuya Kuchiki, Orihime, Uryu, that crazy fucking scientist guy, Tenpachi, Renji, Chad, all those random dudes. Blackula, I call him Blackula, that's not his real name, but still. That asshole. So yeah, there's a wide array of characters. I'm going to play as, who should I play as? Renji or Ichigo? Already a minute and a half into this, I should stop wasting time. I'm going to play as Ichigo. I'm going to train against that asshole Byakuya. This is, oh, he's wearing pink, what the hell? Oh well. This is basically how the standard gameplay works. You've got your standard fighting commands, you can move around, see? Woo! These buttons make you do attacks. Pressing the B button makes you do a flash step, watch, which is good for evading attacks. You can pull off various combos by pressing different sequences of buttons, but because I am holding the camera, it's hard to do this. On the bottom screen here, we got spirit cards, which actually give your character power-ups, or, contrary-wise, can provide status ailments to your enemies. For example, I have the restrict attack card here, which prevents my enemy from doing any attacks, but because we're in training mode, it's not really going to do anything. Then there's also the Boost Spiritual Pressure button, or card, which would make this little gauge of mine go up to full, but since we're in training mode, it's already at full, like, all the time. If I wanted to activate a card, I just touch it. There. Now we can't do normal attacks, even though he's just a training mannequin, essentially. Now, if you don't feel like learning all the combos, well, they've also decided to make it awesome on the DS by adding a shortcut feature. If I press this button right here, I have access to all the special attacks. For example, then of course there are also the special attacks. For example, hey, you. Oh, and let's not forget about Ichigo's Bankai. Anyone who's any of the American dub viewers by now should know what this is like, so no spoilers here. Tetsuzangetsu, which makes him retardedly fast, if any of you guys know. See, I can't run without dashing, I can't attack without being insane, and I can't flash step without going woo, 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 woo! See, the attack goes right through the people, too, and it's painful looking, and Jesus Christ. It really makes you wonder how someone who wasn't even born a Soul Reaper could do that, but whatever. That's the general gist of the gameplay, so we're going to get out of here. Now to talk about the general features.
Bleach.
So we got our standard, wait, we gotta press start. We got
Here's
story mode, which we can use to play as different characters. Right now I'm in the middle of Byakuya's story, which is basically tournament style. You can play as a bunch of character stories, which usually tied to the main plot of Bleach, starting up from the time when Rukia got sentenced to an execution. So
Here's
I haven't unlocked Rukia yet, which makes me sad, but whatever. Arcade mode, which is basically your typical arcade fighting mode.
Here's versus mode.
Versus mode, which gives you 4 options. You can fight against computer opponents, you can play against other people with the game, you can play with other people who don't have the game through DS Download Play, and of course, do battle through the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which is always sexy.
Here's training mode.
Training mode, which you're already in.
Here's challenge mode.
Challenge mode, which provides you a certain set of challenges, which usually involves hitting a certain sequence of buttons during the fight.
Here's the deck construction.
Deck construction is, again, where we can assemble our decks for spirit cards. As you can see, this is my current deck right now. I can totally configure it. What I have in my deck and what I have in stock, I can totally swap them. There are different types of attacks. I mean, there are support attacks, there are recovery attacks. Well, there are recovery moves, there are support moves, there are attack moves that sort of screw up my enemy by either, like, totally diminishing their spiritual power or stuff like that.
Here's the Udahata shop.
Then there's the Udahata shop. That asshole. Here you can buy a bunch of various stuff, including new spirit cards, alternate costumes for characters, graphics, bonus art graphics from like the show and stuff, and of course sound effects, which include background music for the game that you can listen to in the sound test, as well as characters' voice sample files. Awesomely enough, sound test files for characters that you've purchased, you can also use those characters as the main menu voice. So yeah, we'll get into that in a second.
Thanks. Here's the gallery.
Here's the gallery where you can look at all your stuff. Here is the graphics. See, you can check out some of the event graphics that you get to see in the game. There's Ichigo's buddies. There's that stuff. Captains. Them kind of flying into the Serete. All that random stuff. Woo! Sokyoku. Oh, one funny thing I want to show you. That's really funny to do. It's really amusing to do. Then there are also sounds, so you can listen to background music from the game. As well as character sound effects.
Over here. Over here.
No, you're not over there. Fuck you. So that's the gallery.
Here's the options.
Options menu is basically where you can change stuff, you know, game controls, others. You can actually change the system menu voice. Mine's currently set to Renji right now, because the guy's like one of my favorite characters. But yeah, that is how the game works. Now we're going to like just watch a fun little demo, because I want to talk about the presentation now. As you can tell, the game is completely animated with sprites, and uses extensive voiceovers from the English-American dub, which is totally cool. I don't really have a problem with the dub voices. They're kind of better than the ones in you know, Naruto, but still. I think that they could have done a little bit of a better job with the graphics in terms of the fact that the sprites could have been animated a little bit better. I don't know if you can tell, but they do kind of have a bit of a poor frame rate. And, you know, it just could have been better. But the game, in terms of sound, sounds pretty fucking A. So, yeah. The music is pretty groovy. I actually kind of... the music sounds a lot better than the original soundtrack to the anime itself, if you want my god-honest opinion. That's not to say that the soundtrack was horrible, I just think this sounds a little bit better, and it would have been cool if...
Sega!
Yeah, Sega! And that also makes me happy, the fact that this game was totally published by Sega. Maybe that's why it was so well done. But, anywho, yeah. I'm gonna give this game, I don't know, maybe an 8.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10, just because of the fact that the graphical quality could have been a little bit better. But of course, if you're playing just for the graphics, you're not playing for the right reasons. So that's why I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, because it is pretty rockin'. It's a really solid fighter game. No two characters are exactly the same, which is a kind of something that more fighting games should employ. And also a couple of other random things that I just am too lazy to mention. So yeah, this has been GammaDX27 with a review of Bleach, the Blade of Fate for the Nintendo DS. Awesome. Bye!